somebody say nesting? I think it was you. Okay. Yes, I'm talking to you, dear student. You listening to me. Today we're going to be learning about nesting components. It's going to be a pretty awesome lecture. Now, let's go ahead and do a save as on this components data. And let's just do components. And what was the thing that we were doing? Nesting. Yes, good job, guys. Good job reminding me. All right. Let's go over here, guys. Don't worry about my silliness. I try to make you laugh and wake up. I know some of you are sleeping. So let's go ahead and create a component here. This component, let's give it some data. I'm gonna take that off. You know what? We don't need any of this stuff here. We do need a template, but we don't need props. So what I'm gonna do here in the template, one thing that I want you guys to understand in a template, if for some reason the code doesn't work for you, make sure you have some right type of root element first. Okay, a root element like this, like div, and you know, the closing div, whatever. And then inside your template, then you have the rest of the code. Okay, because this might not work if you don't have a root element. I think I got stuck in that when I first started with Vue.js. That was some time ago. But anyway, so what I want to do is I want a list of posts. But before we do that, I want something like this. Let me show you the only thing I don't like about this backticks in my IDE is when I'm trying to indent my code really well, it doesn't work. All right. So I want something like that with, you know, the title, like post 1, you know, something coming from the database. But I want to use components, and I also don't have that data. So we need to have those two things. Okay. I don't like this. Let's just do this real quick. Oops. All right. There we go. All right. Okay. Each IDE has their own way of doing things. Anyway, so I'm going to take this off. I'm going to just leave one. Okay. And in the data, I'm going to create a post array like this. And in this post array, we're going to have different objects. They're each going to have an ID. And each of them is going to have some type of title. In this case, they're going to be post 1. And I'm going to do I'm going to copy and paste all of them like this. Oops. That's enough. Give it a different name. And 5. This is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, boom, explode. All right. So now what I want to do is I want to display a post for each of these objects. We don't have a post component. We do have a post component which has the S, right? We do have that. But it would be nice to have another component just to hold each individual post. Okay, so that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to make this guy in charge of everything else. This post component is going to have the other one embedded inside. And we are going to be doing that right now. So instead of this li, okay, instead of the li being here, we are going to make it so it's available somewhere else. Okay, so it's going to be post. But we don't have that component yet, right? So we need to make that component. Let's come back to the end of this guy right here, and let's create that component, view that component, and it's going to be post like this. Now, that second parameter here, this is going to confuse you a little bit, but don't worry, I'm here for you. And it's going to be a template, but what we want for the template for this component, the only thing that we want this component to be is an li. li tag, okay? But now we need to tell Vue that whatever data comes in between this component, okay, it's this data right here. So how can we make sure that, okay, Vue knows that whatever comes here comes from this guy right here? Well, we use what's called slots, like this, okay? And all it is that whatever data we're gonna put in between these components, between here, is gonna be the same data here. That's all slots are, okay? So now what I want to do in this post is a v4, okay? So I want to loop through my post. I want to create a post variable in post, okay? And then I want to pull out the post title from it. I'll explain to you how everything works. I know this might look a little confusing, but I will explain it to you, okay? So let's go back here and let's try to see if we get something here. Okay, post title, things are not coming out. Let's see the error that we get. I got a pretty good common idea as why. Right now it says Vue common is not a function. Vue, because I misspelled Vue component right here. You probably saw that. And now let's go back here and refresh, and now we can see each of our posts. Pretty awesome. Okay. Now, one warning here that it's giving us, and I wanted to tell you about this, is that when you're rendering lists, it's telling us that we should explicitly, okay, define the keys. Okay. So what they want, what Vue.js want, is for us to let them know about each individual component. Like what makes this component different than the rest, or I mean this individual object. What makes this object different from the rest of the objects? And if you notice, the IDs are different, right? So we can tell Vue, listen, the key of this component, and we can bind it like this. The key of this component, because it's expecting that key binding, it's expecting it. The value of that is the post ID. That is the difference between each of these objects. So now Vue is not going to have a problem with us. They're not even going to give us any warning or anything. See that? Awesome. So now let's recap on what we did. Okay. All right. So we created the main component post, right? We gave it a root element. We got a UL, okay, another list here. And we have this post component that we created down here. And this post component's template is just an LI, or list item. Okay. Now we inserted the slots here. This is a predefined element or tag in Vue.js to define any data that goes in between the component itself. Okay, we can create slots anywhere. Okay, it's just a way of saying, listen, whatever data you put here in between me, it's the data that should go in between here. Okay, because remember, we're using the slots right here. If I take this off and I do refresh, now the slots are not going to have anything. I mean the LI, because right now we can't put any data here unless we tell Vue.js that we want data. The only way to tell Vue that we want data is by putting slots. Right now, if I put this data in this template, in this component, that's the data that is going to show. You understand? So we need to put slots to make that data dynamic and to tell Vue.js that is this data that we want, the one in between the opening and the closing post tag. Okay? And then we're using the for, okay, to render each of these objects. We're making a dynamic variable in post, in the array post, and we're giving it a key, an identifier, to let Vue.js know that each of these objects are different and it should treat them differently. So we're giving Vue.js more information, and it doesn't complain, and then we're using this variable here, dynamic variable, to pull out the title of each object. And we're getting those values there. Super simple, guys. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next lecture.